Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you some steps that you can take with your vehicle before you take your car in for your state inspection or vehicle inspection that will raise the chances of you passing that inspection and not failing. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, it's important to know that depending on the state that you live in, the inspection could be different. You have some states where all they do on a yearly or every other year basis is just the emissions test, where all they're doing is they're plugging in your OBD2 port. They're checking to see if you have any engine codes. If you don't, you're good. If you do, you need to get them fixed. Then you have other states like the one I live in, where every couple years you have to go in. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't connect to the OBD2 port to check the codes. But more so than that, what they're doing is they're connecting to your tailpipe to check your emissions. They're also checking your windshield wipers, your turn signals, brake lights, all that stuff. Then you have other states, like I know in Pennsylvania and other states, where they have more of a full inspection, almost as if in some states when you're purchasing a vehicle from either an individual or even from a dealership, but the dealerships will usually do the inspection. But if you're purchasing it from an individual seller, you have to get it inspected, and they're looking at your shocks, they're looking at your frame, they're looking at everything. I'm not going to go into all those details because there's so many variables. I'm going to be focusing more on the common ones that are across the board. So that's what we're going to go into now. I'm going to start pretty much at the front of the vehicle. We're going to work our way all the way to the back and cover everything. I will have links in the description of this video to other videos I did on how to fix some of the issues. As we go through them, I'll reference those. So if you look at the description, you'll see links to all of those, and you can drill in deeper as far as how to fix them, replace them, things like that. So let's head here to the front and get started and work our way to the back. First thing that you want to ensure is working properly is you want to make sure that your headlights are working, that you don't have any outages as far as on the headlight or even on your turning signals. If you have your hazard lights, your marking lights here on the sides, you have your headlights, you want to make sure that the headlights work. You want to make sure that your high beams are working, and you want to make sure for the amber bulbs, for example, in the case here of these turning signals, you want to make sure that they're glowing properly amber. A lot of times these bulbs are just coated with like a translucent orange, and in time, with wear and tear and the sun and stuff, it'll start to peel. I've had vehicles fail because the amber was not orange enough. So you want to make sure that they're glowing nice and orange. Your head beam, your high beams are working, your headlights are working, and you want to make sure that your side marker lights are working. I'm going to hop into the vehicle and show you exactly what we're talking about, and then we'll move on to the next one. They're going to ask you to do your hazards. You can see there, the hazards are flashing. They're flashing nice and amber, so that's a pass right there. Let's go ahead and we're going to turn on the headlights. You can see the headlights there are nice and bright. They're going to ask you to do high beams. High beams are good. High beams go off. You want to make sure they cycle on and off with no issues. Left turn, right turn. You can see the side markers. On this particular vehicle, the side marker does not flash with the turn signal. They're just permanently on. But either way, they're checking for all of that. So if this were going through an inspection, that would have passed right there. I brought another vehicle in here so you can see also the headlighted thing. So we have headlights on. And then we have high beams, low beams, headlights off. Here's our hazards. Left turn, right turn. And I really wanted this vehicle because the first one, which was a Dodge Neon, the side marker does not blink with the turn signal. It just comes on with the headlights just to mark the sides. But this one, you can see the side marker actually blinks. So depending on your vehicle, you may have either one. But in the event that you have a vehicle that does not blink, and that is the way the manufacturer made that vehicle, you will still pass. So you don't have to worry about that. Another thing you may want to check I always do this just as a precaution because depending on the inspector, they can be very picky. If your headlight is starting to get hazy or foggy from age and just exposure to the elements, you might want to go ahead and polish it. You can see this one here is nice and crystal clear. It wasn't always like that. Before I took it in for its inspection, I cleaned it. If you want to see the video on how to clean your headlights, you can check it out via the link above. There will also be a link down in the description as we mentioned at the beginning. So that's it here for the front end right here. Those are the things that you want to check first of all. Now let's work our way back here to the windshield wipers. Windshield wipers, they're going to check that. So what you want to make sure, first of all, that your wipers work, that they're calibrated properly, and that the high and low speeds work. If you want to see a video I did on how to adjust the arms, sometimes the arms can get out of whack. You can do so via the link above, also down in the description. You want to check your actual wiper blades. If you're getting any kind of smearing or just not a nice clean sweep, that can also fail. For a couple bucks, just be proactive, check your windshield wiper blades, change them out accordingly. Another thing is you're going to want to check the actual speed. Let's go into the vehicle and I'll show you. There's your regular speed. There's your fast speed. They're going to check both of those. Another thing is the horn. They're going to make you blow the horn of your vehicle to ensure it's working fine. So just double check it, especially if you have like an air horn or things like that that's running through in like an aftermarket relay and all that, but it's always good to just test the horn, verify everything's good. It's small stuff like that, but at the end of the day, what they're looking for is they're looking for safety. You don't want to have a vehicle on the road where the visibility is obscured because the wipers aren't working properly, so that's what they're checking. You need to also do an inspection of your windshield. If you have broken, which obviously you would know that, or cracked windshield, depending on how detailed the inspector is, they can fail that. I've had some inspectors, if it's a small crack, they let it slide, but then I've had other ones that have been by the book. They'll make you get that fixed. And unfortunately, you're paying hundreds of dollars for a new windshield. Sometimes it's not always in your budget. If you have a small crack, like we're talking about like around an inch or so, you can fix it yourself with a windshield repair kit. If you want to see how to do that, you can check out my video via the link above. I'll also have it down in the description of the video, but you can do those yourself if it's small. Unfortunately, if it's a large one, then you're looking at having to replace the windshield. The next thing they're going to do, let's head to the back and I'll show you what they're going to check on the back end. What they're going to be looking for on the back is they want to make sure that your tail lights work properly. They also want to make sure that your third brake light works properly if you have one. So they're going to be checking when you turn your headlights on that both sides are working fine. They're going to make sure that your brake lights are working on each side and the middle. They're also going to make sure your turn signals are working as well. So I'm going to go ahead to the vehicle. We're going to go through that and I'll show you what we're talking about. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the headlights. And that's what they're checking, making sure that all the bulbs are working, they're glowing nice and red, everything looks good. Next thing that they're going to want to check is your turn signals. We have our left turn signal. We have our right turn signal. You want to make sure, as mentioned already, that the bulbs are not only glowing, but they're glowing nice and bright and the right color they need to be. Next thing is the brake. We have the third brake light on and we have the two sides on. They're looking for that. And then also your reverse lights. And if we put it in reverse, you see the reverse lights are on. Then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to connect right here to your exhaust pipe, to your tailpipe, to check your emissions. Now, a lot of times you may be getting a check engine light that's on your car, which could be an indication that you're going to fail anyway. If it's an O2 sensor, or if it's a mass airflow sensor, or if you have an issue with the catalytic converter, all those type of things can cause it to fail. Depending on the state, they may not always connect to the OBD2 sensor. I've had vehicles where the check engine light was on. They didn't even check it. They just connected to the tailpipe and I passed, because sometimes those sensors, especially for the catalytic converter, depending on the vehicle, the sensor could be a little sensitive. It could be showing that it's not properly working when in actuality it is burning the proper emissions and everything is safe to pass. So you can't always go by that check engine code. But what they'll do, they'll connect in here and you'll get a reading. One thing that I would recommend doing, a product I've used before and it did work, there's a product by CRC called Guaranteed to Pass. I think it's only $7 or $8. I did a product review. You can check that out via the link above, also in the description. You pour that in, follow the directions. They guarantee it to pass. If not, they give you your money back. Like I said, I've used it. It worked. But if you want to see the full video on how to use it and all that stuff, you can check that out. But that's the other thing. Let's head inside the vehicle now, and I'll show you in the case of a check engine light how to handle that. Coming underneath the dash on this particular vehicle, if we cut right there, you can see right here, that is your OBD2 port where you would plug in a scanning tool. You can either get a handheld device or you can use a Bluetooth device. I actually have both, but I prefer the Bluetooth. But I'm going to go to a vehicle of mine that actually has a check engine light on so I can show you exactly how to check it and what app I'd recommend. This Jeep Wrangler has a check engine light on. What I'm going to be using is this Bluetooth plug and play scanning tool right here. Pick this up. I forget how much it was. I picked it up a few years ago. I think it was like $5 or $10. If you want to see a product review I did for it, you can check that out also via the link above and down below. But these are really practical. You just plug it right in. It goes along with the Torque Pro app available at the Google Play Store. And I think you can get that for $5 or $6 as well. And the two together, you're looking at $10, $12. You get a nice scanning tool. It can read most manufacturers. It can be done in real time, has a lot of cool features. But let's head in here and I'll show you exactly how we're going to plug it in. As we come underneath here, there's the port, and then here's our device. You can see there are the prongs. You just pretty much just line it up. Put it all the way in until you get a good, nice, good connection. And now we can fire up the app. Here's the app. And it'll open up. And then from there you can check fault codes. You can do different reports on your vehicle. It's actually really good stuff. You have your real-time information. But in the event that you do have fault codes, if you click this here, you heard it just said that it was connected. Just go ahead and check that there. You can see we have 2 fault codes pending right here. Both are the evaporative emissions control system. I do have a slight evap leak here. I'm getting ready to replace the studs on the exhaust manifold and tighten up some other stuff that'll take care of that. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to show you that would cause you to fail. So you want to get those things taken care of. Once they have been addressed, then what you can do is you can come here to clear fault codes. And you want to go ahead and clear them. It'll take care of them. And then take the car for another drive, make sure they don't come back. And then you should be good to go at that point. Now, depending what code you get, like I mentioned earlier, it could pertain to your catalytic converter, which if you use that CRC product, a lot of times that will clean it. If not, I did a video where I showed how to clean the catalytic converter. I know some people disagree with the method. I've used it before several times and it worked fine. If you want to see how to do that, the link is down in the description. You can check that out. Another thing is it can pertain to your oxygen sensors. They're another one that can trigger the check engine light and you will fail your vehicle inspection. If you want to see, I've done a few videos on the O2 sensors as far as explaining what they do, showing how to change them, showing how to clean them, all that stuff. I'll have all of those down in the description below. You can check those out and it goes into more depth. That'll help you out with that. But it's very important that when you check the code, a lot of times with the Torque Pro app, it will give you the definition of the code, but sometimes for your specific vehicle, it could vary a little bit. So it's not a bad idea to do a little bit of research on your particular make and model, what that code pertains to, and get it taken care of. If it's something you can do yourself, like I said, I have links down below. If not, taking to have it addressed properly because you will fail. All right. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind, if you have a vehicle, and I'm going to show you one, I have one that I'm working on that's been sitting. If you're getting ready to take that to get the emissions test or the regular inspection, it's a good idea to run it, let it idle till it gets to around running temperature, and then take it for a drive. Drive it for maybe 5-6 miles. Just kind of let the system run its way through. If you got a car that's sitting, a lot of times if you start it, the emissions are still kind of strong. You don't want to take it right in because there's a good chance you'll fail. So you want to kind of run it through, let it cycle through, clear everything out. But let's head over here and I'll start one and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Have this vehicle here that I've been restoring. It sits pretty much most of the time. If you are interested in restoration projects, things like that, this is a Lamborghini Countach LP 400S, but it is a replica. It was a factory built replica out of Florida that I've been working on, but it's got a new engine in it. Everything runs great. It just needs to be repainted and some minor body work and the windows put in, and then it'll be going in for inspection. But I just want to show you, because it sits so much, even though it's got a new engine, everything runs fine. You have a lot of emissions, and it runs very lean that comes out of it, and that can mess up your emissions. So I want to just show a close-up when I start it. But in the case of a vehicle like this, you want to start it, you want to let it idle a little bit until it gets close to operating temperature, and then drive it before you take it to clear it out. But if you were actually here in the garage when I started all the time, it's got a very strong emissions that comes out of it. But let me get a close-up of the tailpipes when I start it and show you what I'm talking about. And if you were sitting right here in the garage with me right now, it's got a very strong fuel smell. And I believe I said lean in the last clip, but it actually runs very rich is what I meant to say because of its sitting. So in a case like that, you want to run it through. Make sure that it just idles for a few minutes, kind of get the system clear, take it for a drive, really kind of work its way out, and then you should be good to go. But let's head back over to the other vehicle so we can finish going through the items that you want to look out for. So we've covered already what to check on the front end, which was your the headlights, high beams, turn signals, the side marker lights. Then we checked the windshield wipers, the windshield wiper arms, all that. We went through on the rear end of the vehicle as far as the brake lights, reverse lights, third brake light, turn signals on the back. We also talked about the OBD2 sensor, and if you have a check engine code, how to check that, how to address it, how to fix that. Also, as far as letting your system run all the way through to clear out any emissions for the tailpipe test, so you'd be good with that. Now, the last thing that they do check is they also check your brakes. At least the state where I am, what they have is they have a plate in the ground, and they have you drive your vehicle onto that plate, hit your brakes, and basically that plate has a sensor that communicates with a computer system that then tracks the response time of your brakes to see if your brakes are good or bad. Now, I'm not saying for everyone to go out and get a brake job before you go get your vehicle inspected, but it's not a bad idea to just get it up in the air, take at least one of the tires off. If you can take all off, that's even better, but take one off. Just check out the brake pads. If it looks like the pads are wearing thin, it's not a bad idea to change them. I have a couple of videos that I'll have in the link below on how to do brakes. If you do it yourself, you can do it for 20 or 30 bucks, and then you're good to go. But if you take the tire off and you have a lot of pads still on there, you should be good to go. So let's back this car up. I'm going to bring it out. We're going to take one of the tires off, and we're going to take a look at the brakes, and then that'll probably be ready to conclude this video. This little impact wrench here I'd highly recommend. It's Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight. If you want to see the product review, you can check that out also in the link below, but that comes in handy. So let's pull this off. Here's the brake pad right here. You can see there's a lot of brake still on there, so you would definitely be good with that. What you don't want to have happen is where the metal is getting ready to hit or it's getting very close. That is not a good sign there. Plus you'll start damaging up your rotors. But right here you'd be good to go. Now in some vehicles, if you've got enough visibility through the rim, you don't need to take the tire off like right here. On this particular vehicle, you can see right through the rims, and you can see there that you've got a lot of brake pads still on there. So you don't always have to remove the tire, but if you do have to remove the wheel, it's definitely beneficial to make sure that way you don't fail the braking part of the inspection. Well, that pretty much wraps up this video on some steps that you can take to increase your chances of passing your vehicle inspection. Obviously, like I mentioned at the beginning, different states have more involved. Like some of them, they're looking at the frames, the suspension, all that stuff. The states that I've lived in have never had that, but I do know people that do live in those states like that. So I hope this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out. I hope it gave you some insight as far as what to look for and what to work on to greatly increase your chances of passing your inspection, because there's nothing more annoying than going through the inspection, coming through, and they give you the thing saying failed. You got to go back, look at what's wrong, get it fixed, all that stuff. So if you just take a Saturday or take a day before you're going to take it in, go through everything as covered in this video, fix anything you can on your own. If not, then get it fixed, and that'll greatly increase your chances of passing your vehicle inspection. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time.